Prepare yourselves, ladies and gentlemen, because today we got good news, we got bad news, and we got more good news, which might be bad news depending on how you look at it. Let's begin. Firstly, the MacBook Pro has now got a GPU edition. I'm hesitant to call this an update, mostly because they didn't really change the price points or many of the other internals of the MacBook Pro. It's simply an extra GPU option that wasn't there before, and this one took quite a big jump. Before, on the maxed out MacBook Pro, you had two different GPU options to choose from, and to get a slightly better GPU with the MacBook Pro, you had to spend an extra $100, and now to get this even newer GPU, you have to spend an additional $700. So 75% improvement in graphics performance, which is pretty high. That's a pretty good GPU addition, but you will be paying quite a bit for it, which I can imagine why a lot of people are upset, because I'm sure that part does not cost $700. However, it is in a very thin, very powerful machine, so for those of you who wanted a better GPU in their 16-inch MacBook Pro, you now have that option. I apologize if you've bought one already and you wish you had this from the get-go, but the idea is Apple wants to keep the latest, greatest technology available for those who haven't bought one yet and are now buying one. But the bad news from this situation is I know there's a lot of you asking about, will we get a 16-inch MacBook Pro refresh, whether it's a spec boost or price changes or design changes or that kind of thing at WWDC this year, and this pretty much confirms it will not be happening. Anytime Apple does something small like this and they add a slightly better GPU or a new storage option right before a keynote, that's typically because there's nothing at the keynote for that particular product, and I still think there's a decent chance of there being a 16-inch MacBook Pro refresh this year. It's just that today's update essentially confirms that it won't be happening anytime soon. That means 16-inch MacBook Pro with new CPUs or with updated pricing and that kind of thing probably not going to happen until at the very earliest October of this year, which again should make you kind of hesitant to buy this MacBook Pro upgrade as well, because you might see new GPU option and say, hey, there's an update, there's something I couldn't buy yesterday, and that will allow me to play Minecraft much better on my dedicated gaming machine, which is a MacBook. But if they do end up doing another spec boost, more than likely be at the very end of this year, so that should give you some insight on the timeline. But video I did last week ended up coming true, which was about the AppleCard gaining financing options. It appears that that report was entirely 100% accurate. In fact, they have launched the AppleCard financing options before WWDC, which is appropriate, as there should be some new hardware coming out to finance. But yeah, between AirPods, the HomePod, Apple TV, iPads, Mac, even the Pro Display XDR, you can now pay for them with 0% interest over the course of 12 months or 6 months, depending on how expensive it is. And after doing some of the math of the numbers they showcase of like, hey, this costs $26.50 a month, it appears that when you do the 12-month financing option, it's actually slightly cheaper by like a couple of pennies. So yes, they do legitimately mean 0% interest, because you will actually end up paying slightly less if you finance it, but again, by a matter of pennies. So not much less, but again, I just advise people out there that are thinking about doing the 12-month financing, because you might see a new MacBook that you want to buy and it's now $200 to $300 a month for a year instead of, you know, $3 or $4 grand all up front. Just make sure you can actually afford it, because the trick here that Apple is hoping a lot of people fall for is that you start buying a bunch of stuff because you're just looking at the monthly cost, and then by the end of it, you're going to have a giant bill at the end of every single month that you won't be able to pay. So be reasonable about it, okay? You're still paying a lot of money for a product, you just have more time to pay it off. But the only Apple product you seem to not be able to finance, bizarrely, is the Apple Watch. I'm not entirely sure why they don't let you finance that, but yeah, even the HomePod, they will let you finance over a 6-month block, which I was not expecting, but it's here. Other good news slash bad news, depending on how you look at it, is Apple is soon to be launching a back-to-school bundle, which means that if you buy an eligible iPad or Mac, you will get AirPods included for free, which is a first, because in previous years, Apple has always done back-to-school programs. These are not new, so to those people freaking out that you just bought an iPad or a Mac a few weeks ago and now you're really mad that you're not getting free AirPods, I mean, there was plenty of warning for this, guys. They do the same thing every year where they include some pair of Beats headphones or some $100 gift card if you buy an eligible iPad or Mac. During the back-to-school season, it happens so often, I don't know how you can predict it at this point, but yes, if you are willing to wait a little bit longer, you will soon be able to get a pair of AirPods 2. And now that the site has updated, we know that you can get AirPods 2 included
included for free when buying an iPad Pro, which is now at discounted pricing, as well as even the iPad Air at $480. And if you would like to upgrade to AirPods Pro, it will just cost you an additional $90, as well as an additional $40 if you want the wireless charging case with AirPods included.
So you don't even need to finance those iPads. Just get it for school. That's all that matters. Or at least get the free AirPods so that you can sell them and knock off a bit of the price point of your MacBook. But last tiny sliver of news is that Apple is going to be adding some more user upgradable SSDs for the Mac Pro. So let me be clear, Mac Pro, okay? Some people were reading into this too much, thinking you'd be able to upgrade your SSD for your MacBook or your iMacs or things like that. Nope, this is just for that good old $6,000 Mac Pro rolling down the hallway because the wheels don't lock. And at the time of recording this, they have not officially launched it yet, but everyone's reporting on it, so apparently it's confirmed. But yeah, between 1 terabytes to 8 terabyte SSDs, you'll be able to just open up your Mac Pro and slide them in, which is great for those of you who bought the abysmal 256 gig SSD configuration. Now that you'll be able to plug in directly internally, I'm sure the SSD prices are probably going to be kind of high, but you know, the Mac Pro is modular, so here's more modules for you. And before I go, I thought I would just inform you some bad news that the Apple Mac Pro wheels at $700 do not have financing options. You can't pay that off over a 6 or 12 month period. The Pro Display you can. Over a 12-month block, it's only going to be $416 a month. Totally doable. But yeah, the wheels you have to pay for up front. Why, Apple? Come on, people need these dang wheels. This is your Apple Sheep here. I'll see you in the next one.